Alright, and the last checklist for insertion, if you've made it this far, is the sequential event control system Pyro, technically not ARM checklist. So this system controls things like all of these buttons, even tower jettison, separation, all these. This main release. So pyros are important. They do almost all of the sort of separating of different things, if you will. So at this stage in the game, you'll need to set the logic to on. In real life, you'd hear some relays fire off, you know, chunk, 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 and you will leave them on for a while, and the ground would look at the relay positions, and they would say, hey, you're go for Pyro Arm. The certain relays are in the position they need to. The reason they do this is because there's the potential for arming the logic relays for a Pyro Arm relay to also get closed. So, you know, when you push one of these buttons, another relay is actuated. And there's the possibility that one of these relays has activated just because you turned on the system. So the switch attached to some of those relays, which actually sends the power to the explosive, you will not send power through that circuit, through the circuit that actually fires the pyros without these switches on. So at this point, and you can queue up this checklist if you want, but it's super easy. If these two circuit breakers are pulled, you're just going to plug them in. You'll have these pulled most of the time, except during launch. They're closed for you already, so just keep them closed. And then logic 1 and logic 2 on. And that's it. When you get closer to TLI, you'll turn on the pyros, and you'll do the separation and all that. Sorry, not after the TLI, that is, not closer, but after. So the ground is basically just going to look at everything while you're doing TLI and such, and then they'll give you the go for Pyro Arm later after TLI. So that finishes all of your insertion checks and the explanation for everything you've touched in insertion. You know, not a crazy complex explanation, but basically an explanation on why you're touching everything. And, you know, I was really thinking as I was explaining this, wow, all those systems are important. I definitely would not want to skip any of these checklists. Because, you know, over here, you'll suffocate the crew if you set this wrong. Over here, you'll overheat the equipment, you'll fry it, you'll bake 150 degrees. Here, if you're in orbit, you know, radiators ain't working so well. You need these evaporators. Again, you can fry yourself. You can freeze yourself. You know, you may accidentally separate something you don't want. You know, you can kill yourself out of just not setting up the environment right. You know, power you need to survive. You want to check that. But all this stuff is really important. I wouldn't really skip any of it. Because you die if you do. And I hope the explanations of what each system does has persuaded you to do all of these insertion checks. So after that, we're actually not going to do any of these 3 checklists. We're just going to run concatenated. And we're going to run down until right before we start program 15 first. We want to make sure that you do all the checks before you start calculating a burn, just because if you're a beginner, you may take a long time to do all this, so you don't want to miss the burn, because if you miss the burn, you soft lock in reentry. So, yeah. So that's it. So catch us for the translunar injection chapter, but so far, I would say the ascent and insertion chapter is coming to a close, so I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.